Hi, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining here today. My name is Courtney, and today we'll be moving through a sort of slower paced, mindful, some studios refer to this as Hatha, or some consider that more of an umbrella term. Doesn't really matter. We're just sort of going to come as we are, find some time on our mats. And since we're sort of probably at home rather than in a studio setting right now, we don't have this luxury of lots of props like blocks and straps and blankets and all that good stuff. So we're just gonna sort of keep it as a me and my mat practice type of day. If you know you love blocks or you just love having something that brings the floor to you rather than you needing to bring yourself to the floor, you can get creative with things like books. Pots and pans make surprisingly helpful props. Pretty much anything that you can find that just sort of, you can rest both hands on that are of relatively even heights. If you don't have a mat at home, you can feel free to just use your floor. You can maybe have a blanket ready for underneath your knees. If you have a carpeted area in your house, that's sort of like your very own yoga mat built into your floor, or if you have it laid across, you can move it to somewhere where you just have enough space. It's the great thing about yoga, it doesn't take up too much space. And you can just find yourself in some comfortable clothing, something that you can move in, maybe something that isn't too billowy. You may notice that shirts may come up and blind you and things like that, but if that's your thing, you can go ahead and enjoy that as well. So other than that, you can pause if you'd like, take the time to set yourself up, or if you're ready, we can start to make our way down onto our backs. From here, just starting to become an observer of your body. You can come to complete stillness if you'd like, or you can just find some gentle movements, maybe some soothing, rocking movements in the body. You can have your eyes open or closed. If you'd like to bring some more tactile attention to your breath, you can place one hand by your heart, one hand by your belly, feeling the gentle rise and fall beneath your palms. Bringing attention to the areas of your body that are in contact with the floor, allowing them to soften a little bit more, becoming one with the earth, with the mat, the floor, the blanket beneath you, softening and softening. And with this softening, allow this to reflect your breath. Compassionate, easy breaths in and out through the nose. Feel free to keep your hands where they are, whether they're by your side or somewhere touching your body. You can start to heel toe both feet out a little bit wider, further than hip distance apart. And from here, just allowing both knees to fall all the way over to one side. And you can choose to pause here, or right away windshield wiper the knees up and over to the opposite side. If you'd like, you can bring some movements through the neck, maybe nodding the head the opposite direction that the knees are facing. moving where you'd like, pausing where you'd like. Just seeing how everything's feeling today. The feet, allowing the ankles to just sort of lull side to side. You can let one hip sort of peel away from the floor as you tip the knees the opposite direction. Noticing how breath starts to move through your body as you bring a little bit more movement here. Coming back to center, knees up towards the ceiling. You can heel toe your feet back into closer to hip distance apart. Starting to bring your right knee in towards your chest. Your hands can be off to the side or they can interlace behind the back of the thigh or over top of the shin. Your left leg can stay bent or you can straighten it long on your mat. Feel free to change your mind at any time. Just starting to point your toes up towards the ceiling. And articulating through the foot as you point it down towards the floor. Just starting to move through the ankle. If you'd like, you can start to circle. Moving both directions. Just taking it nice and easy on yourself, nice and slow. If you'd like, you can allow this circular movement to start to stir up into your hip. Moving the leg as if you're stirring a large bowl of soup or stew or something comforting, something warm and cozy. And these movements can be as big or small as you'd like. You can be in complete stillness here. You can allow your left hand to come to your hip, maybe bringing the knee up and out to the side if that feels okay in your body. Or maybe drawing the knee all the way across, just starting to come into a super gentle twist. Whenever you're ready, you can reach for the back of your leg and start to straighten it any amount towards the ceiling. This is where you may want to change your mind on where your left leg is in space. Flexing the foot as if you're standing on the ceiling, but you can also maybe play around with how it feels to point the toes. Hands can also be off to the side if that just feels a little bit better and allows you to soften more through your shoulders. Once again, finding stillness here, or maybe some small circles. Maybe you allow those circles to be a little bit bigger. Totally up to you. You can just allow the leg to wander around if that feels right in your body today. Other options could be bending the knee and re-straightening it. Or maybe lowering the heel down to the floor and all the way back up. This is one where you can even bring a hand to your lower back, noticing that the lower the heel goes to the floor, you might find more space there. And as you lift, you may start to notice your back gradually pressing more and more down into your hand, down into the floor. Not making this about right or wrong movement, just making it about moving your body. You can start to lower that leg down, switching sides, hugging the left knee in, finding any hand position that's most comfortable for you. Starting first with the ankle, flexing the toes up towards the ceiling and articulating down towards the floor, or the wall or whatever else is in front of you. You can bring some circular movement into the ankle, and whenever you're ready, allowing this circular movement to stir all the way up into your hip. If your hands are on your leg, allowing your shoulders to just sort of move with you. Mine are sort of lifting and lowering down onto the floor, just trying not to hold too much tension. Other options here could be bringing a hand to your hip and drawing the knee up and out towards the side or up towards your shoulder. Or maybe drawing the knee across the body, coming into any amount of spinal twist. Noticing when you're moving, just how breath is moving through your body. Not trying to change or control it in any way, just noticing. Starting to straighten the left leg any amount towards the ceiling, making your decision about where your right leg is most comfortable in space. Finding stillness here, flexing the foot as if you're standing on the ceiling or pointing up, just noticing the differences and how it feels on the front and back of your leg. You can continue to just move through the ankle or be completely still here, or you can start to move the leg. Allow it to wander around. You can try everything I'm mentioning, or you can completely ignore me and try any other movements that come naturally into your body, or just sort of come to mind, really just exploring here. Becoming really curious about what movement feels good in your body, just sort of how things are feeling today, right in this moment. Other options could be lowering and lifting. If you'd like to bring more attention to your back body. Could even just bend and straighten the leg. Hugging both knees in towards the chest, reaching for the backs of the legs or the fronts of the shins. Just sort of rock side to side. Coming back to that soft breath and softness down into the earth. Bringing both hands to cup your knees. You can start to straighten the elbows, drawing the knees away from you in space, and bring them right back in. Just moving at your own pace here, drawing the knees away as the elbows extend, and then hugging everything tightly in towards your chest. You can keep on doing that, or you can start to widen the knees as the elbows straighten. Hug them in towards your shoulders, back in towards your chest, and back out. Circling the knees opposite directions. You can have your big toes staying in contact, or they can separate. Moving the opposite direction, knees come in and out. Circling out to meet once again with the elbows nice and straight. Now keeping the knees where they are, you can place your hands out to the sides in a T shape or with elbows out and hands up. Some people call this cactus. And from here, keeping your shoulders on the floor, start to tip your knees over to the right. Your hips can peel off but don't let your thighs or your knees touch the floor, just hover here. Coming back through center and just letting the legs fall over to the other side, shoulders stay pressed down into the ground, just floating everything above the ground. Just moving side to side here, nice and slow, using your breath. Couple times each side. Once more over to the left. Coming back to center, lifting the shins up so that they become somewhat parallel to the ceiling, maybe sort of making a 90-degree-ish angle with the thighs and the shins, reaching your arms up overhead. Start to lift your right arm overhead as you straighten your left leg. The opposite limbs stay nice and straight if possible. And coming back to center. Reaching opposite left hand, left leg forward, left arm overhead, and come right back in. A few more times. This one's sort of a bit of a mind bender as well, as you try to keep one limb, two limbs I guess, still, and the other two move. You can find a breath pattern that works for you here, maybe inhaling as you reach, exhale brings you back to center. Inhale as you float an arm and a leg above the floor and back in. Taking your time here, being really intentional with how you're moving your body. This is particularly hard when you're talking at the same time. From here, let's bring both knees back in towards the chest. Option to roll off to one side and push yourself up, or find your momentum and come up to a seated position. Let's come with crossed legs if that's comfortable. If not, you can find any seated position that works for you. If you're crossing, I ask you to very intentionally put your right foot forward. This is sort of my weird, awkward side. You know how we all have that habitual, like, this is the side I like to cross my legs, this is the side I don't. So anyways, let's start with the right leg in front. Starting to reach the arms up overhead. You can look up at them if you'd like. Then come up and over to the right side. You can look up at your inner elbow, or forward, or even down to the floor. Coming up through center and over to the left. Reaching back up, let's start to walk the fingertips down towards the floor, rounding forward. Walking the hands in just slightly. Imagine you're pulling your chest forward. And rounding back, you can bring your hands behind you, press down into the floor, or with your fingertips spread through your collarbones. Sitting up nice and tall, let's take a twist over to the right. And over to the left. Coming back to center, let's do the mirror image of that on the opposite side. This time, really mindfully putting the left foot in front. If that feels okay as you sit down. This is another one where you can find a book or a blanket to sort of just sit a little bit higher off the floor. Start to inhale the arms up. As you breathe out, arc over to the left. You can really push down through this lower arm, creating lots of space through the side of your body, and coming up and over and doing the exact same thing on the opposite side. Arms come up overhead, and fingertips come down to the floor. Walk forward any amount. Let the back of your head release. And walking the hands in slightly, pulling yourself forward, lengthening through the spine. You can look up here. Then rounding through center, bring the hands beside or behind you, open up through the chest. Sitting up nice and tall, twisting over to the left. And coming through center over to the right. Coming back to center, either rolling over the ankles or shifting legs off to the side. Let's come into tabletop. Taking a moment here to sort of walk it out. Wrists don't need to be right underneath the shoulders. You can sort of walk them a little bit forward if that feels okay. I'm just starting to move through the spine here in any way that feels delicious. You can start with cat and cow, dropping the belly down towards the floor, opening up through the shoulders. You can look up and pressing down into the floor, rounding the shoulders on your spine, curling up like a Halloween cat. Moving back and forth here is totally fine. You can also play around with slowing it down, maybe finding those areas where there's a little bit of cross-pollination between cat and cow at the same time. Other options could be moving shoulder and hip close together, maybe looking over your shoulder as you do so. You can sit back towards your heels and ripple back up. You can circle your spine, really just finding anything that feels nice in your body here. Gravitating towards anything that feels good and spacious, and really just exploring the back body, sort of a blind spot in a lot of us. Coming back to a relatively neutral place here, trying to keep both shoulders relatively level. Let's reach the right arm forward and up and back behind you. Moving nice and slow, especially through those sticky spots right there, nice and sticky. Just sort of moving as if you're imagine you're lying on your back, moving through a swimming pool. This could be back crawl. And moving the opposite direction. You can look a little bit forward of your mat. Just sort of caught myself looking down, drooping my head, looking forward. Hand comes down, reaching the left arm forward, and then up and back, moving nice and slow, especially through those sticky spots behind you. Still breathing here. And moving the opposite direction forward this time. Placing both hands down, let's reach the right arm up and open up. This time you can allow the shoulders to twist open. Imagine you're trying to stack them on top of each other. And from here, swoop the arm down, allowing the elbow to bend. Reaching back up high overhead. And just scooping down, floating the right arm above the floor. And opening back up. This time as you scoop down, you can just allow the outside of the shoulder to land on the floor. The left arm can stay where it is. Maybe you reach it forward or up and behind you. Taking a few breaths here, wherever is most comfortable with the top arm and without too much pressure on your neck here as well. Wherever your left arm is in space, bring it back so you can use it as leverage to sweep the arm back up towards the sky. And place it back down on your mat, opening up to the left this time. Reach up. Big breath comes in here. And as you exhale, bend and just hover the arm above the floor. Reach, reach, reach. Then open back up through the ribs, spreading through the shoulders. And right back down, just scoop. And breath comes in as you open everything up. This time, as you sweep the arm down, let the outside of the arm and the shoulder rest on the floor. Palm can be up towards the ceiling. This time, the right arm can stay right where it is. Reach forward in front of you, or maybe for the lower back or for the opposite hip. Breathing here, softening into the floor, into the earth beneath you. Pressing down into the floor, start to reach the arm up and place it back down. From here, we'll walk the elbows down onto the floor, coming onto forearms, stepping one foot back and allowing the opposite to meet it, coming into forearm plank. Really pushing down through your elbows, spreading through your shoulders. Imagine you're pulling your elbows back towards your toes and your toes forward towards your elbows, but your hips stay nice and level. They don't sort of peek up when everything squeezes in towards center. You can have your gaze a little bit forward of your hands rather than sinking the head down in between the shoulders. A few more breaths here. Keep pulling the elbows back, start to lower the hips down to the floor, point the toes so that the tops of the feet are pressing down into the floor beneath you. Elbows are right underneath shoulders, if that feels okay. Keep pulling back, pulling your ribs in between your upper arms. Sphinx pose. Little back bend here. Noticing how this is feeling in your body. And from here, you can take a little peek over one shoulder, starting to move through the neck a little bit, moving over to the opposite shoulder. Maybe looking up and down, and coming back up to center. Let's lift all the fingers, just keeping the heel of the palm on the floor. Everything else lifts and lower down. Lifting up and down, keeping the fingers nice and spread and straight, lifting up and down. Last time, lifting up. And as you press down, press through the heel of your palm, through your knuckles, through your fingers. And with that, start to walk them in by your ribs, keeping everything lifted and long, shoulders rolling down and back. Elbows slightly come in towards each other. This is what we can call maybe baby cobra. Keep pulling your hands back as your ribs start to search forwards. And from here, let's curl the toes underneath. You can lower the knees to the floor if they're lifted, push through tabletop, then send the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Taking a moment here to sort of walk it out. You can bend one knee, shift your weight into the opposite leg. You can wag your hips side to side. Maybe even nod the head a few times, shake it out. Taking another moment here to just see how the backs of the legs are feeling, how you're feeling through your shoulders and your wrists. Softening through the knees even more, look forward and take as many steps as you can, just tiptoeing towards your hands. Letting the head hang heavy as you start to roll slowly, 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 slowly up to stand. Rolling the shoulders down and back, finding Tadasana, mountain pose. Eyes can be opened or closed. You can just allow the feet to walk out anywhere, whether it be underneath your hips or slightly closer, further apart. Taking this moment to check in. How are you feeling physically? Taking a breath for how you're feeling mentally. And a breath for how you're feeling emotionally. Bringing your hands together in front of your chest, rubbing your hands nice and vigorously, creating some heat with the friction here. And once they feel nice and warm, you can cup your open or closed eyes, blinking into this inky, infinite, vast space behind our eyes. Letting the hands drip down the cheeks, down the chest, and coming down by your sides, making your way close to the top of your mat. We'll move through a few half sun salutations, allowing the breath to come in and out. As you breathe in, reach your arms up high overhead. Cascade as you hinge at the hips, falling forward. Slide the hands up to the shins or thighs, lifting halfway. Exhale, round back forward. You can soften the knees. Inhale, reach the arms back high overhead and down by your sides. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, the arms up high. Exhale, folding forward over the thighs. Inhale, lifting and lengthening, reaching up halfway. Exhale, falling back forward over the legs. Inhale, the arms up overhead. Exhale, just bringing them down by your sides. Lifting the arms up high. Exhale, down. Inhale brings you up halfway. And exhale, soften back forward. Inhale, reach up, soar the arms up overhead and down by your sides. Let's continue reaching the arms up and over. Exhale, heart to thighs, round. Inhale brings you up halfway. Exhale, hands come down, stepping the right leg back, knee taps down to the floor. Inhale, your arms up high. Exhale, elbows come down. Let's reach them back up. Exhale, the elbows down. Inhaling, scooping everything up. Exhale, down. Inhaling one more time, up. Exhale, the hands down on either side of your front foot. Curl the back toe, lift the knee, and step back to a high plank. From here, press down through your hands. Send your hips up and back to downward facing dog. From here, let's ripple back forward into plank and shift right away back to downward facing dog. Doing this a few times, you can just move forward and backwards, or you can find this sense of cat and cow trickling into this movement. From here, let's bend the knees, look forward, and take a few steps up towards your hands. Once you arrive there, lifting up halfway as you lengthen, exhale, folds you back forward. Inhale the arms up and overhead, and exhale down by your sides. Let's do that on the opposite leg. Inhale, up high. Exhale, falling forward. Inhale lifts you halfway. Exhale, hands reach down, left foot steps back and down onto your floor. Inhale, arms up high. Exhale, elbows down towards the floor. Inhaling up. Exhale, dragging the elbows down nice and strong. Inhale up. Exhale, back down. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale, down. Inhale up high. Hands come down, stepping back to your plank. Holding here for a breath. Everything nice and engaged here, pressing down, pulling back and pushing forward. And sending the hips back to downward dog. Option to hold your down dog or find those rippling planks, moving the body, shifting weight, articulating the spine, moving through the tips of your toes. Finding your breath here, inhales and exhales. Let's meet briefly in downward dog. Bend the knees, look forward, and make your way towards your hands. Rising halfway as you arrive, and exhale, fold back forward. Inhale the arms high above, and exhale down by your sides. Taking a moment to just sort of assess how you're feeling now through the body. Let's walk the feet out. You can have a soft bend in the knees. Maybe the hands come to the hips or sort of go around off to your side. That's often what I end up doing. Let's kickstand the right foot out to the side, coming onto the big toe side edge of the foot. From here, you can start to walk up onto your big toe, the baby toes, onto the heel, just sort of circling on those outer edges of the foot, letting the standing leg sort of choose how much weight or how much load is being put into this leg. You can also play around with how close or how far the foot is away from you. Circling both directions. You can even just take a look down at your foot. See all the weird little movements it sort of does as we circle like this. This might not feel good per se, it might feel a little bit awkward. Coming back to center and kicking the opposite leg out, coming onto that big toe side edge, rolling up and over. Just circling these outer edges, moving through the ankle in the way that we don't normally go to. This can be somewhat ankle sprain territory. Moving both directions. And coming back to stand, you can allow the hands to slide down to the knees, circling one direction, and just letting the feet do whatever they will. Might lift off the floor a little bit, and circling the opposite direction. And sliding back up to stand. Once again, hands can come onto your hips or just be down somewhere by your sides. pouring your weight into your left leg, let's start to bring the right heel to the base of the ankle. You can stay right here if you'd like, or you can start to slide the leg up any amount, anywhere on the inside of the left leg. Finding a nice stationary place in the room to find your balance. And once there, you can come into any arm or any variation you'd like with the hands. This is where if you feel like you're falling over, you can sort of notice, as we just explored those outer edges of the foot, maybe press a little bit more into the baby toe side edge if you notice you're tipping over that way. Same with if you're going forward, one side, or to the back. Sort of playing around. You can even purposely try to knock yourself off balance, maybe trying to circle around. You can close the eyes. Just sort of noticing all the work that your foot does and your leg does to try to hold balance. Bringing the knee up in towards the chest. And start to reach the foot back, coming into a high lunge here. Toes pressing down into the floor, heel is lifted. Take a breath in, reach an inch higher. As you exhale, bring the elbows down towards the floor, squeezing through the back. Inhale the arms up, exhaling them down. Inhaling up, exhale down. Inhaling up, tip your upper body forward, reach your hands back. Keep your elbows nice and straight, squeeze the arms together, creating a nice long line here out through the top of your head and through the back of your heel. Let's reach back up, soften the back knee, just try to find a little swing back and forth, and step towards the front of your mat. Hands can just fall down by your sides. And let's do that on the other leg. Pouring the weight into your right foot, or the opposite foot that you just used, doesn't really matter. Bringing the foot to the base of the ankle, sliding up anywhere on the leg, pressing down through the standing heel, trying to stay nice and even through both sides of the body. Shoulders and jaw are relaxed. Once you sort of have your balance, you can play around with different arm variations, whatever suits you today, and bringing attention to your balance and really to what your foot is doing to sort of allow you to balance, sort of accommodate for all these shifts and things that happen. Option to close the eyes, or just do anything that purposely sort of knocks you off balance. You can come into a side bend if you'd like. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical with what you did on the other side. Knee comes in towards the chest and stepping back towards your mat. You don't have to do that little pivot that just happened there. Reach the arms up. Settling into this posture, finding your balance. You may need to walk the back foot out a little bit wider if you'd like. And as you exhale, let's start to bring the elbows down towards the floor, creating 90-degree angles here, almost like a goalpost. Inhale the arms up, exhale down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. This time, inhale, reach up. Send your energy forward as you reach your arms back, hovering your chest above your thigh, creating a nice long line here once again. Breathing, squeezing the elbows in towards each other and keeping them nice and straight. Reach the arms up. Let's just bring them right down to the floor this time, stepping back to plank. From here, you can lower all the way down to the front of your body. Knees can come down first if you'd like. Settling down onto the floor. You can bring your hands just underneath your forehead at this point. I'm gonna look off to the side just so my sound isn't too muffled, but you can just be looking down in towards your mat. Start to reach your right foot up and off the floor. Toes can be pointed or flexed. From here, bending the heel in towards your sit bones. Knee faces directly towards the floor. See what it feels like to consider the possibility of lifting your thigh up and away from your mat. Whew. Straighten the leg out and lower down. Switching sides, lifting the left leg up. Really reaching out. So rather than just thinking about lifting up, imagine someone's pulling your leg up and back behind you. Flexing the heel in towards the seat. Maybe lifting the thigh away from the floor, but the knee points right down directly. Straighten back out and lower down. Reaching both hands alongside you. Tops of your hands can be pressing down into the floor. Start to peel your shoulders, your chest, your forehead away. Press the tops of your toes in towards the floor. Maybe the hands start to lift. Maybe the feet join in. Shalabhasana, locust pose. Keep the elbows squeezing in and nice and straight. If you're, well, I wouldn't say happy, but if you're okay here, you can stay right where you are, or you can start to reach the hands up and forward in front of you. Maybe swimming back. Maybe finding a few breath strokes. Breathing here. Working through the back of the body. And allowing the hands to just come down. Let everything soften down towards the floor. Take a moment here to sort of shift the hips side to side. Maybe even bending the knees and just allowing them to fall all the way over to the right and all the way over to the left. Whenever you're ready, you can lower the legs back down to the floor. Bring your hands by your sides and press back into child's pose. Sitting your hips towards your heels. It's okay if they don't actually meet there. You can reach your hands forward or back behind you. Knees can be together or apart. You can bring your forehead down and just sort of give yourself a tiny little massage, tipping the head side to side. And you can stay right where you are, or you can start to walk both hands all the way over to the right. Maybe stacking the left hand on top. Breathing through the side of your body. Sitting your hips a little bit heavier into your left side. If you went one direction, you can start to walk your hands all the way through center over to the left, stacking right hand on top or not. Breathing once again through the side ribs, opening up, creating lots of space there, lots of breath. Maybe sitting your weight a little bit heavier into the right side of your body. Hands walk back through center. Start to curl up to a seated position, coming right away off to one side. And let's make our way back onto our back. Sounds like a great idea. Bending the knees. We'll come into bridge pose here, reaching your hands down towards your heels, not necessarily trying to reach your heels. creating a nice stable foundation, feeling nice and sturdy through the knee down to the ankle, not feeling any tenderness as you start to press down through the floor with your heels, rolling your hips up and away from the floor, up towards the ceiling. Keep reaching your hands down. From here, imagine that you're pressing your heels down in towards the floor and dragging them in towards you without actually moving them at all. Few breaths here. If you'd like, you can stay with your arms where they are, or you can come into sort of robot arms, bringing your fingers up towards the ceiling, pressing your upper arms down into the floor, or another alternative would be to roll onto the outer edges of your upper arms, maybe interlacing hands, stretching them down towards your heels. Keep pressing down into the floor and imagine that you're trying to bring your heels even closer to you. Carefully uninterlacing the hands if you went there, bringing the hands back down to the floor. Roll your hips back down. Imagine you're moving one vertebrae of your spine down at a time. Soften the hips down onto the floor. Let them feel nice and heavy. You can let your knees sort of tip side to side here. Taking your time, you can bring your knees in towards your chest. Rock it out there. Circle. And keeping your hands or your knees where they are, reaching your hands out to the side, either straight, bent, or just sort of kind of flopping them out to the side is cool too. And let's bring the knees all the way over to the right. You can shift your hips a little bit over to the left if that feels okay. You can look up towards the ceiling or over your opposite shoulder. Some variations here could be to straighten the front leg or the top leg if that feels okay. Or if eagle pose, Garudasana is in your practice, you could find that twist tie shape with the legs, seeing how that feels on your back. Allowing the thoughts to just sort of start to wander, the body to continue to soften, to feel heavy, to melt into the floor. Drawing the knees up through center, nice and slow, and over to the opposite side. Once again, finding any variation that you'd like with your legs. Gaze can be wherever is most comfortable for you. Same with your arms. Continuing to allow the thoughts to just wander off and allow the body some time to just integrate the practice while preparing for your Shavasana. Guiding the legs back through center, taking these last few moments to prepare your body for the end of your practice. This could be happy baby, another spinal twist, anything that might feel good through the hips. And whenever you're ready, you can take as much time as you'd like on your own, finding your Shavasana. And that could be lying flat on the floor. Your knees can be bent, knees can be open. You can even be prone on your stomach if that feels safer and more grounding for you. Or you can come up for a seated meditation. From here, this is where I'm sort of gonna let you pause your video, take these last moments as your own. Please do Shavasana. And thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. or anything that you'd like to see next. This is the first video that I've ever made, so this is new, a little bit nerve-wracking. We'll see how this goes as I look back. And yeah, thank you. Namaste.